If you look at a map of the world, Scotland is small. It is a jagged puzzle piece attached to the top of Europe, battered by the Atlantic Ocean and carved by ice. We think we know this place. We know the castles of kings. We know the battlefields of clans. We know the bustling streets of Edinburgh and Glasgow. But that is only the cover of the book. To find the true heartbeat of this nation, you have to leave the highway. You have to travel to the edges, to the places where the road simply runs out. It is in the villages. Some were built to harvest the sea. Others were built to satisfy the vanity of dukes. And some were built by people who just wanted to survive the storm. I'm your tour guide, and today we are going on a journey through time, from the ancient kingdom of Fife to the wild Atlantic coast. We are visiting 7 unique communities that have stood the test of centuries. Welcome to the ultimate guide to Scotland's most beautiful villages. Explore more, worry less. Let's go. They say time travel is impossible, but those people have clearly never been to Fife. Just a short drive from Edinburgh, sitting quietly on the banks of the River Forth, is the royal burgh of Culross. Walking these streets doesn't just feel like stepping back in time, it actually is. Culross is widely considered the most complete example of a 17th century burgh in Scotland. And if it looks familiar to you, there's a reason for that. This is the real-life Cranesmuir from the hit series Outlander. The producers didn't have to build a set. They just showed up, covered a few drain pipes and started filming. The village is that perfectly preserved. But the real story of Culross is stranger than fiction. It centres on this building, Culross Palace. And it wasn't built by a king or a queen, but by a merchant named Sir George Bruce. In the late 1500s, George Bruce was the Elon Musk of his day. He turned this sleepy religious settlement into an industrial powerhouse. He did it by mining black gold, coal. Bruce was an engineering genius. He built a mine that went underneath the river, a technological marvel known as the moat pit. Ships would dock right in the middle of the river to load coal directly from the shaft. He used the waste heat from his coal fires to boil seawater, creating salt, which was a luxury item back then. The wealth from coal and salt built these stunning houses. But in 1625, a massive storm destroyed the moat pit. The industry collapsed. And that disaster is actually why Culross is so beautiful today. Because the money ran out, nobody could afford to knock these old buildings down to build new Victorian ones. The village simply froze. It slept for 300 years, until the National Trust for Scotland stepped in to wake it up. Today, it stands as a monument to a lost age. A place where the 16th century is alive and well. But our next stop takes us away from the comforts of the palace, to a place where life is lived on the edge. If you drive north past the granite city of Aberdeen, the landscape changes. The rolling hills vanish, replaced by sheer cliffs that drop violently into the North Sea. And hiding at the bottom of one of these cliffs is Pennan. Pennan doesn't look real. It consists of a single row of whitewashed cottages, a harbour and a sea wall. That's it. There is the ocean on one side and a vertical wall of rock on the other. Life here has always been a negotiation with the elements. In winter, the waves can crash over the roofs of these houses, but despite the harsh conditions, this tiny hamlet is famous around the world. It's famous because of this phone box. In 1983, the classic film Local Hero was shot here. In the movie, the main character uses this box to call his boss in Houston, Texas, connecting this tiny Scottish village to the wider world. The film captured the magic of a place where time slows down. And 40 years later, that magic is still here. There is no cell service. If you want to make a call, you might actually need that phone box. Today, Pennan is quiet. Most of the fishing boats are gone, but the soul of the village remains. It is a place of solitude, a place to watch the northern lights dance over the water, knowing that the only thing protecting you from the North Sea is a stone wall and a bit of luck. Just a few miles west lies a village that makes Pennan look spacious. This is Crovie, and it holds a unique title in Britain. It is the best preserved fishing village in Europe where cars are completely banned. You physically cannot drive here. The gap between the cottages and the cliff is so narrow that it's barely a footpath. If you live in Crovie, you park your car at the top of the hill and you wheel your groceries down in a wheelbarrow. Look closely at the architecture. These houses aren't built to look pretty. They are built to survive. They are turned sideways to the sea, presenting their narrow gable ends to the waves to minimize the impact of the storms. And the storms do come. The defining moment for this coast was the Great Storm of 1953. It devastated this coastline. In Crovie, the sea smashed through doors and windows. It was so violent that many families simply left and never came back. Those who fled often moved just next door to Gardenstown, locally known as Gamry. Founded in 1720, it clings to the cliffs like a stairwell. While Crovie feels fragile, Gardenstown feels like a fortress. It has a working harbour, a pub, and a school. It's a reminder that while the sea takes away, it also gives. Standing here, looking down at these toy town houses, you realise something. These aren't just holiday homes. They are monuments to resilience. People lived here, bred families here, and died here, all within a few feet of the freezing Atlantic. If the East Coast is a battle against the elements, the West Coast is a surrender to beauty. And nowhere is that surrender more complete than here, Plockton. They call it the jewel of the Highlands. And unlike the ancient settlements we've seen so far, Plockton was a planned creation. It was built in the early 19th century, not by a king, but by a wealthy landowner who wanted to stop his tenants from emigrating to America. But look closer. There is something here that shouldn't exist at this latitude. These are cordyline palms. Plockton sits on the same latitude as parts of Alaska and Moscow. Yet here, palm trees grow. It's a geographical miracle caused by the North Atlantic Drift, a warm current that acts like a hot water bottle for this specific bay. While the rest of the Highlands freeze, Plockton flourishes. The village was built for herring fishing, but today the catch is different. Plockton prawns are world famous. If you order langoustines in a top London restaurant, there is a good chance they started their journey right here, on this pier. It is a place of calm, a place where the road literally ends at the water. But to find our next village, we have to leave the mainland entirely. We are going to the Isle of Mull. Welcome to Tobermory. If you were a child in the UK in the early 2000s, you know this place as Balamory. But long before it was a children's TV set, it was one of the most important ports in the Hebrides. The first thing you notice is the colour. In a country famous for grey granite and grey skies, Tobermory is a defiant explosion of paint. Legend says the colours were chosen so sailors could recognise their own houses from out at sea, though in reality it's mostly just good marketing. At the heart of the harbour sits the Tobermory distillery, founded in 1798. But the real treasure of Tobermory isn't the whisky. It might be under the water. In 1588, a ship from the Spanish Armada, the San Juan de Sicilia, fled the English navy and hid here in this bay. It caught fire and exploded, sinking to the bottom of the harbour just a few hundred yards from where we stand. For 400 years, people have hunted for the Tobermory gold. Kings of England and dukes of Argyll have sent divers down. They've found cannons, they've found plates, but the gold remains a mystery. During World War II, this peaceful bay was a strict naval base. It was run by Vice Admiral Gilbert Stevenson, a man so terrifying he was nicknamed the Terror of Tobermory. He trained sailors for the Battle of the Atlantic right here, often by screaming at them until they got it right. From Spanish gold to naval terror, Tobermory has seen it all. Today it's the capital of Mull, a gateway to the wild islands. But our journey isn't over. Drive south, and you reach a body of water that needs no introduction, Loch Lomond. And on its western shore sits a village so perfect it almost looks like a film set. This is Luss. If it looks uniform, that's because it is. In the 1800s, the local laird, the chief of Clan Colquhoun, decided his tenants needed better housing. He demolished the old black houses and built these identical slate-roofed cottages. It is undeniably beautiful. But if you look past the hanging baskets and the ice cream shops, you find something much older. This stone is a hogback. It dates back to the 11th century, the time of the Vikings. Before the tourists and before the Colquhouns, this was a holy place. It was founded by Saint Kesog in the Dark Ages. He was a warrior saint, and for a long time he, not St. Andrew, was the patron saint of the Scottish army. His name is where Luss comes from. Legend says it derives from the Gaelic for herb, referencing the medicinal herbs Kesog grew here to heal the sick. Luss is a place of duality. On the surface, it is a chocolate box village, perfect for a postcard. But dig a few inches into the soil, and you find Vikings, warrior saints, and ancient clans. We have seen the coast, and we have seen the lochs. But for our final leg, we are heading to the borders, to a place that has been on the front line of war for 1,000 years. Seven villages, 10 different worlds. We have travelled from the storm-battered cliffs of the north to the gentle artist colonies of the south.
Scotland is often sold as just one thing, tartans and castles. But as we've seen, the real stories are hidden in the small places, in the villages that cling to the edge of the world.
Whether it's a town built for a movie, a village built for a king, or a hamlet fighting the sea, each of these places has a pulse. They are the living memory of this country. So, the next time you look at a map of Scotland, look past the cities. Look for the dots in between, because that is where the magic is. Test me.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to subscribe to Tour Guide for our next adventure. We'll see you on the road.